So Nick, in our survey, we found that only a third of the respondents thought that they had an effective threat monitoring program within their organizations. What would your advice be to an organization that is trying to structure an effective threat monitoring program?
I think, Mark, as you said, context is everything. And the first thing organizations should do when they look at threat monitoring is really to understand what they're looking to monitor for. When we talk about threats, they can be extremely varied, both in sort of their nature, but also where they manifest themselves. Increasingly, we are seeing a lot of focus being put on online threat monitoring, but the physical world remains extremely important for many, many organizations. And so the first step is really about defining the problem. Once we've defined the problem and what we're going to be monitoring for, it's also about understanding the sources of information. Because, as we've discussed previously, you may have terabytes of data coming into a threat monitoring framework, but the way you're going to analyze this information will fundamentally differ based on the source. If you're looking at analyzing social media information or analyzing quantitative data, these are going to take two different models to do that. And the last thing I think that is extremely important to do is to recognize the importance of multidisciplinary teams in threat monitoring. We said it at the start, fundamentally, this is about context that humans are providing to a variety of different technologies, but it's really about understanding what is that context and what skills do we need to bring in order to really understand this and to produce the analysis that we need. And
as well as skills, there is the use of technology. I mean, clearly we've mentioned the terabytes of data and the vast amounts of information that you're trying to make sense of. What role do you see technology playing within these sorts of programs?
Technology is extremely important, and I think has taken a dominant role in most, not just threat monitoring, but enterprise risk management programs over the past few decades. And this is going to continue. It's a great enabler. It reduces oftentimes the time that it takes for us to make decisions, for us to understand what is going on. It also facilitates a global coverage, which increasingly, when we're looking at threats, needs to be the case. It allows us to look at different fields of information, whether that's the digital sphere or the physical one. But I think technology can also be extremely counterproductive, especially if technology is pitched as the silver bullet to understanding threats and mitigating risks. Technology should be seen as an ally, but not the primary player. It fundamentally sits with humans.
And I think certainly in my experience that often that human element can sometimes be the poor relation to the actual collection of that information, and that not enough time or resource is actually put into the analysis and the sense-making of that data.
I think that's absolutely right, Mark. And I think fundamentally this goes back to an importance of defining what threat monitoring is for an organization. It is logical for many business stakeholders to think that technology will be the solution to their problems when it comes to understanding the universe of information that's around them. But it's the responsibility of security and risk managers to really educate where technology is important and where the human is important.
Absolutely. And if you look at, let's take a chief executive officer for a large corporation. He has many things to do on a day-to-day basis, but during the course of a business year, he may have to make 2, 3, or 4 key decisions, only 2 or 3 or 4 key decisions, for which he needs great information. And it's those small pieces of information that these threat monitoring and these threat monitoring programs can support.
Absolutely.